Welcome to Larry's Butcher Shop. You can be my meat, but you can't be my princess. How can I help you?
Yes. I'm going to go see the Batman with my family, and I would like to order some steak so we can have a meal afterwards.
I can do that, no problem. Have you seen the movie yet?
No, can you tell me a little bit about it?
I can, but I gotta warn you. Superhero movies suck.
You are a disgrace. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Let's just be honest, we all know that they're not good. The genre itself is garbage because it's like junk food. Eventually, after sugar is over and you're coming down off of that sugar high, you get tired and you realize that what you just had no taste and no substance. I thought Disney and Marvel had caught on, but it seems like they're starting to lose it and go back to what people didn't like about superhero movies. Each movie before kind of fit into another genre. The superheroes just added a level of familiarity that helped with recognizable characters that people could relate to. In this movie, we drop in on the Cape Crusader. This is a brand new imagining of the character. Batman is in his second year of crime fighting and gets down to the true meaning of what DC actually stands for. Most people don't know that DC is actually Detective Comics. The Riddler is the main antagonist, and instead of being a mustache-twirling imbecile who throws dynamite with a riddle attached, he does what is realistic to modern times. He takes the police on a wild game of cat and mouse using riddles to lead them and the Bat exactly where he wants them. We get a mix of great movies with our favorite characters. There's a lot of parallels between this movie and movies like Zodiac, The Silence of the Lambs, and even Friday the 13th. The Bat actually uses his skill as the world's greatest detective, which is one of his nicknames, to slowly encroach on the Riddler. Along the way, we have a side plot of Batman and Bruce figuring out who he really is. Bruce is grappling with the struggles of his actions in Gotham City. Is he helping or is he actually making it worse? I think that this is a valid question because in every iteration of this story, I've seen Gotham go from a city that's just battling crime and corruption to having massive terroristic threats, mass shootings, and biological warfare being waged all around innocent people. This movie brings in a modest rogues gallery without it feeling crowded. Anyone who's seen Batman Year One, played the Arkham games, or watched the original animated series will enjoy this film. I say that to say that I'm not sure about the super fans. They're very unpredictable and don't seem to understand that a comic book and a movie are two different forms of media. A story might work completely different and has to be tailored for each medium. I don't pretend to know everything about the character, but I do thoroughly enjoy everything that I've seen him in. All that aside, from what I do know about Batman, it does seem like the writers and directors slightly twist and add to the lore in a very interesting way. It adds new depth by explaining the new differences and assuming the rest you know from the many iterations that preceded it. The movie has a noir and thriller feel to it. I saw it in RPX, which is Regal's version of IMAX, but it made for a fun experience of searching the screen for Easter eggs and finding where you think a character is hiding in the shadows. Set footage leaked a few years ago, but they seem to do a good job of keeping the plot under wraps. Personally, I don't see any additions I would give to the script that would make it better than it already is. I love how this ground level Batman who has room to grow in many categories. His tech is low level and believable. I would love to see his utility belt get a little heavier with some of the things from the game or some of the other TV shows. His fighting could be polished hopefully from the League of Assassins or Talia al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul teaching him these things. I would even like to see him with some new partners. Speaking of partners, you can't stress enough how Zoe Kravitz fits into this role. Even though I love her, her acting usually leaves something to be desired for me. Robert brings a weight to his role that I feel is also perfect for this adaptation. I think it would be terrible in any other version, but it fits well here. He plays a Bruce that feels his everyday life is the mask and is at home as the Bat. You see it in his body language. Bruce seems uncomfortable in his own skin and seems like he's only in places because he has to be there. but once he puts on the cowl, he stands tall and seems to be at home. The ensemble cast has some really good acting in it too. Jeffrey Wright does a good job as Jim Gordon before he becomes commissioner, but I don't know whose decision it was for his voice sounding like McGruff the frickin' crime dog. Hopefully his voice disappears in the next movie. It was so bad it pulled me out of the movie every time he spewed one of his corny, tough cop on the beat lines. It literally sounds like a parody of a cop movie. John Turturro as Carmine Falcone does a complete 180 from the bumbling idiot spewing nonsense and obscenities like I knew him from Transformers. Usually Falcone is just a faceless mob boss with his name all over his front businesses, but Turturro does a good job bringing a grounded version of the character to the screen. Andy Serkis does a good job, as always, playing Alfred. I would say if they bring out more of his abilities from being British Secret Services, he will become my favorite iteration of the character. And last but definitely not least, Colin Farrell brings a version of Penguin that I can't wait to see more of. This is definitely a step in the right direction for Warner Brothers and DC. If they continue on this path, they'll definitely give us a franchise that's actually worth watching. My score is a beefy 8 out of 10 for this movie.
I wasn't expecting you to go that deep into it. But what time can I pick up my order?
45 minutes, ma'am.